Hello there, my name is Velma and I'm a first-time writer. I'm proud to announce that I have written my debut novel titled Sacrian. You can pre-order it directly from me via a link attached to this video, or you can also order on Amazon if you are outside Ghana. Today, I will be reading from pages 256 to 260 of my debut novel. The weather in Twickenham was unpredictable, but today was good. I love to sit on the benches in Richmond Park and have video calls with Ma so she wouldn't worry. I was intentional about it. I didn't want her to suspect the slightest that after 3 years, I still spent days in my bed, unable to move and bound by grief and sorrow. That didn't require much convincing. If I said I was fine, then I was fine as far as he was concerned. The feeling was in my chest, and I did not know how to explain it. The weekend I saw Mrs. Oforia Breakfast's pictures was the worst. I spent the previous night reviewing my notes in preparation for my screenwriting exam, only to miss it because I got carried away by grief. I failed my screenwriting course woefully. It was really bad. My professor called me to her office and referred me to counseling. That was the thing about schooling in Europe. Your personal issues were concerned if they threatened to affect your schooling in the slightest. On days I felt extremely bad, I would sit on a bench at Richmond Park and take in the scenery to calm me down. The sounds of descending aircraft approaching Heathrow, the chirping of the birds, a few lovers here and there, and I'll salvage the moist essences from the things that could be perceived right at Richmond Park if you were intentional about feeling the river's breeze. I cried myself to sleep for 3 nights until I could no longer ignore Ma's calls. I knew her, and she was probably worried sick. After my first session with a school counselor, I went to the refectory to eat my first proper meal in 3 days. Was I going into a stage of depression? I ordered my favorite, an acai bowl. It was hard not getting noticed in this wing of campus, as my classmates often hung out there. Efia, Anushka called out in her thick Indian accent. That made my name sound like the name of a concert, rather than a typical Ghanaian female name. Oh my God, are you all right? She asked in concern, making the jittery movements with her head that I had come to associate with Indians. I tried calling you after you missed the screenwriting exam. Did you talk to Professor Hugson? It was a medical emergency, nothing serious. Are you serious right now? A medical emergency is serious. She continued with the funny stress on her R's. Her admonishments for not calling her to come all the way from Teddington to my apartment in Richmond passed right behind my ears. I was staring at her with a fake smile plastered on my face, but I was not listening. Last month was better. I pulled myself out of one of my many self-pity moments. I did not know how to describe how I felt even after 3 years. Guilt was closest to the feeling. The Monday before I miraculously got the courage to be myself again, I had reason to grieve. It was exactly 3 years since Justice was shot dead right at his gates by a sniper I assumed was one of Alaji's men. I wept so bitterly that I had to put a pillow to my mouth. Maybe if I hadn't given him the deadly car number, he wouldn't have been roped into my messy life. If I had just told Kwame what was going on and had given him the car number, I would never have been kidnapped. Justice would not have died, and that hypertension would not have been badly triggered. It was all my fault. I ruined everyone's life and ran away to Twickenham to pursue a second master's degree. Kwame was right. I'm very selfish and self-centered. All I think about is myself. He too was not innocent. I always took most of the blame, but he was not innocent. Who divorces his wife after she had been rescued from kidnappers and was not sure if her legs were ever going to work? He had the balls to call himself a Christian man. Miserable coward. He will regret jilting me. He will never find anybody like me. Never. Wherever I found the strength last month to keep on going, I needed to find it again to face the workload ahead of me.
I once read a beautiful quote that books are the closest things to human beings in print. That's because through books we feel connections that we've never actually created. We go to places that we've never actually been, and we see people that we've actually never glanced at. Today, I'm here as Elsie Iramakubia with Velma Votchwemah, who is a first-time writer. Velma, when people pick up your book, SACROSANCTUM, what do you want them to feel?
Thank you, Elsie. First of all, I want to say I'm overwhelmed, and sitting in this seat today is so surreal for me. You introduced me as a first-time writer, and I'm grateful to God for that. Now, when someone takes Saku Sanum, I want them to not only relate the characters, I want them to relate. I believe that as a writer, you get to speak to people's imagination, and so you have this power over them. And it's a different type of intimacy, if you ask me. When someone reads SACROSANCTUM, I want them to pick up lessons from it, because I believe I did a great job with subtly incorporating my Christian values in there. So I want you to engage with my creative mind, the creativity I try to incorporate in there as much as possible. And I also want you to pick up bits and pieces of life lessons from there. And one main lesson that I have come to appreciate in SACROSANCTUM is at the end, you actually be fine. Because if you believe in God, God will make everything work out for you. Even though it may seem as though it's bad, in the end, you will be fine. I say this to you, you will be fine.
Without giving too much away, what should we expect? What is the book about? How does everything come together? What is the book about?
So in the book, you discover complex human relationships. You discover divine protection. And there's also the trace of violation in there. Day in, day out, over the course of our lives, we carry trauma with us. But the divine protection that I believe everybody enjoys as a human being counters this violation that we are befallen with. Others may have it tougher than some others. When you read SACROSANCTUM, I think you are going to come to face with that reality that no matter how violated one may be in the course of their lives, there's always that divine protection. And you don't live in isolation, you live with other people. There are complex human relationships that you also have to maneuver throughout the course of your life.
I think we want to know who the name behind the book is. On a regular day, who is Velma? Who is Velma when she's not writing? Take us through a typical day in your life.
My name is Velma Votchwemah, as Elsie mentioned. Velma na Ajeli Votchwemah. I am Ghanaian, and currently I'm 20 years old. I am a law student at the University of Ghana, School of Law, and I'm proud to say I'm an author now. And I am also passionate about entrepreneurship, and I'm passionate about my faith as a Christian. Well, aside that, I am a daughter to my beautiful mother, to whom I dedicated this book, and my aunties and uncles as well. I am also a first daughter, if that adds up to anything. And I'm a friend to many.
I think when anybody picks up your book, the first thing they ask themselves is, what is SACROSANCTUM? Why that title? You know, it's very catchy. Is it an intentional title, or was it something that just came to you?
I'm proud to say SACROSANCTUM was an intentional title. This book started as me trying to connect with the creative side of me. And a little background story. I've always been writing since 2018, I believe. And in 2022, when I was in St. Lucie Senior High School in my 3rd year, there was this day after social duty that I had missed writing. So the word, I think I had learned this word afresh. The word was sacrosanct. I think I learned it at mass or in a book or something like that. The word was sacrosanct. And I decided to play with the word. So when I wrote Sacrosanctum, I came back home. I was actually writing, after Wasi, I was writing this book titled The Torma Line. I had to put that on hold and write Sacrosanct. So the book at that time was called Sacrosanct. And it didn't have this direction. For me, it was a take one step and the path becomes clearer. And when I got to a point, I realized, so I changed it from Sacrosanct to Sacrosanctum by making it a little bit more Latin. When I got to a point, I realized the story wasn't really in line with the word sacrosanct. So I had to tweak a lot for it to fall in line with the word sacrosanct. Yes, that's all about the title Sacrosanctum.
I'm excited to go straight into the details of the book. Tell us who your least favorite character is and why, and who your favorite character is and why.
My least favorite character will be Alaji. I think this man, let's put Ify aside, this man believes the world revolves around him because people go through things in life. People have been hurt by other people. People have been hurt by life. But for you to say because I was poor as a child, when I grow up, I'll do any and everything to be rich, including killing people to be rich, I think that makes you an innately bad person. Like I know other people may have different views, but there's no defense for that. We all have our cross to carry. And for that reason, Alhaji Farouk is my least favorite character. My favorite character will be Marjorie. She gives off this motherly vibe. She gives off this motherly aura. And she's, well, I don't know about people my age, but sometimes we tend to think our mothers are like worrying us or something, like always on our keys, do this, do that. But they are the angels with so much need. And for that reason, I love Marjorie. Marjorie is my favorite character.
I think for me, I love the character development that you gave to everybody because initially one can think that Alhaji is, as you mentioned, somebody who is innately cruel and should have no retribution, should have no attachment or whatever. But upon reading the book, when you get his perspective, you sort of sympathize with him. It should not be condoned. There should be no reason for killing anybody. But you understand that some people are so shackled to poverty that they would do anything to break free from it. And that is not what people should do, though. They should have the mentality to break free from poverty, but they should do it through the right means, you know. And with Marjorie, I love how you made her a constant in the book, because once you start the book, you hear her voice. You hear how she encourages a couple who's going through a hard time in their marriage. You see her at the end of the book when she's there for her daughter. You see her in the middle, in the hospital when she's there with her. So I think that I love the way you made her constant, and it just shows how most mothers, if not all, are very constant in our lives and are there for us through the lowest and highest points of our life. But quickly, we can't seem to place Sacrosanctum in a particular genre. Is it romance? What exactly is it?
Well, let's be honest. I'm not your typical literature scholar. And for that reason, I may not be able to clearly capture the category, but hands down, the book is fiction. I think we all know that. I would like to call this a contemporary style of writing, and I would try to get into the technicalities of the book I so much wrote myself. I think that's the beauty of literature. That's the beauty of creativity. You don't put yourself in a box. I may be in a box I don't even know I am in. I'm a law student, for the record. I don't have any formal literature training. I trained myself on the spot. And to take you back to the question you asked me about Marjorie, surprisingly, an interesting fact about Marjorie is the book begins with her, aside the prologue. It starts with you fought with your husband, didn't you? And the book ends with the same sentence by Marjorie, you fought with your husband, didn't you? So that adds up to the facts about why Marjorie is my favorite character.
And even further on, speaking of how your style of writing is contemporary, I think it's absolutely beautiful to see, because we didn't have your regular happily ever after, which I loved, because we are so tired of that. You know, it's not always the reality that everyone has a happily ever after, you know, and everybody sort of felt the consequences of their actions, you know, and I love that everybody had retribution for the wrongs that they had done, and those who had tried to do good also saw the result of that. So this contemporary style of writing is amazing, and you should be commended for that.
Thank you.
Is there something in particular that inspired you to start writing? Have you always been a writer?
I think as a child, as children, we play with I remember the song, what will I be? K Sarah Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all play with the thoughts of wanting to be this and wanting to be that, wanting to be a doctor, a pilot. For me, I think I made a vow, like I vowed to be a writer. And it feels like a promise to my older self. Then it felt like a promise to my older self. Right now, it feels like a promise to my younger self. So I would like to say that I am inspired by my younger self. I thought I was going to be a doctor. Here I am in law school now. But I think I've always known that I want to be a writer. And when I read Chimamanda's Half of a Yellow Sun, and when I went to do some research on Chimamanda, that sparked something in me. Chimamanda began as a medical student, I think, and she left overseas from Nigeria to study something else. And I think she's someone that doesn't put herself in a box. I'm a Chimamanda fan, may I?
Love to see it. So
imagine you write so beautifully and you've carved a niche for yourself that you're invited to the Met Gala. Like, you I don't know, like, writers are known to be all boring and all. No, that's not Chimamanda. So Chimamanda is my inspiration, coupled with memories from my childhood.
And I hope that very soon some young girl will look at this video and also say that Velma is her inspiration to start that dream of hers.
I'll be honored.
But just quickly, you know how you've been able to transform your dream into a reality. You had an idea, you were able to birth that idea, and today is a book that we are holding. Tell us how you felt when you actually held the first copy of this book.
I felt very grateful, and allow me to highlight on my Christian faith, but I felt like this is a testament that God really loves me. It's not everybody that starts something and sees it through to the end. And I had to prove to myself that this is something I'm willing to make a reality out of. And then I had to prove to my mother, I had to prove to people around me. And so at a point, it was a one woman army. But I have managed to convince everybody. I've managed to convince strangers. I've managed to convince people on X, people on Instagram, people on YouTube why they should read SACROSANCTUM. So when I held the book, I felt like I can do anything through Christ that strengthens me, of course. So I was very grateful, and it felt surreal.
What message would you give to somebody out there who also has a dream? It doesn't even have to be a book necessarily, but they have a dream that they want to birth, that they want to see come to fruition in a couple of years, in a couple of days. Somebody who wants to channel their creative juices to actually give birth to something tangible. What would you tell them?
If you have a dream, see it as this. You've been given a whiteboard or a canvas or a book to write where you see yourself in the next 5 years. Write it out to the highest standard. Don't compromise, because if you write it and you pray to God to help you, what you've written will come to pass. When you work towards it, it will come to pass. I can show you journals from last 2 or 3 years where I write. When I was in, I think, SHS2, when I was in SHS3, both journals, where I see myself at the age of 21. Currently, I'm 20. I wrote a law student's a business girl. I don't know how that's going.
It is going well.
Well, you guys say I'm doing well with the business. I don't know
Yeah.
about that. I wrote a published author. And I mean, I put higher standards on myself to be compared with Chimamanda. I don't know about that. But I'm living out what I wrote. So see the dream as a white, see the situation as a whiteboard, as a white paper. And you've been asked to write, in fact, draw where you see yourself in the next 5 years. Reach for the skies. Even if you don't like get to the skies, you may fall on a cloud.
And while we are falling on the clouds, let's also support Velma. Her new book is out. It's available on pre-order for just 75 Ghana cedis. And aside buying the book for a cool 75 Ghana cedis, you can also support her, which is free, by following her social media content. You can like her videos, you can repost, you can tell a friend to tell a friend that Velma has actually released a book. And all of that support is free. So please go support Velma's new book. Buy it, read it, and I promise you, it's different, it's new, it's challenging, you love it, and you come back for more. Velma, we'll be waiting for more books from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elsie.